Morgan and Jordan, while on their honeymoon, film their digital love letter to each other and a goodbye to their families, during which the couple recount the journey of their 3-month-long romance. Morgan met Jordan when she snuck out to an underground club one night. She spots him on the dance floor when the two speak for the first time. Jordan playfully asks her if she's a dragonfly, though Morgan doesn't enjoy being compared to an insect. She throws her own playful jab, inquiring if he's gay. He responds by kissing a random guy next to them. Morgan, taking that move as rejection, compliments Jordan's dress and turns to leave, but he pulls her back, swearing that he's drawn her face before. She doesn't believe him, but she stays, staring into his eyes before she allows him to kiss her. After the party, the couple are making out in the parking lot till Morgan decides it's time for her to go home. Jordan tries to get her to stay, but to no avail, so he asks for her number instead. She gives it to him, on the condition that he doesn't call. She scribbles a number on his arm. Jordan tries to distract her with another kiss before she leaves, but she spins him around, deftly escaping the grasp of his charms. As she retreats, Jordan teases her about not being mad if he doesn't call, but Morgan's sure he won't. She gave him a fake number. He scoffs, picking up a discarded cigarette and lighting it, then fishes Morgan's wallet out of his back pocket, beginning to strip it of its contents. Just as he's done hiding her cash away, a bee comes out of nowhere and stings him. Cursing, he wonders out loud if it's karma. Checking her ID, Jordan learns her full name and, chuckling, notes it's her birthday. Morgan creeps back home quite late that night, where she's met by her parents, waiting up, or mostly up, for her return. She casually lies to them about the movie she went to see, claiming she got back in late because she stopped for pie, even going so far as to pass up her own birthday cake to maintain the lie. Jordan returns to his shared apartment to be greeted by his kinda ex-girlfriend, Misty, who's pissed because Jordan missed his own birthday party tonight. Jordan also owes her money that he claims he'll return to her tomorrow, but according to Misty, it's what he always says. She desperately begs him to stay with her longer, but Jordan seems to want no part of her, pushing past and sending her back to bed like an errant child. Jordan quickly ascends the stairs to his small sanctuary on the roof. In the peace and privacy of his room, he works on an inspired idea, an illustrated children's story. The story tells of a dragonfly boy who's slowly falling in love with the princess of bees, but that the queen bee would never allow them to be together. Morgan's family gets an update on the status of the metastatic tumor in her brain. Dr. Ahmed explains it's grown quite a bit since her last observation, and Morgan's brain tissue is swelling at an alarming rate. The doctor wants to encourage her parents to try more aggressive treatment. But they've already done so much chemotherapy, what else could there possibly be? She urgently suggests getting Morgan to a medical center in Houston. But Dennis, her father, is flabbergasted by the idea. Dr. Ahmed confesses that at this stage, Morgan's cancer is irreversible. There's nothing that can be done. But the Houston facility will be better equipped to monitor her condition. Bailey, her adopted brother, storms off, unable to handle hearing his parents discuss how much longer his sister has left. With a heavy heart, Dr. Ahmed informs the Gendaras that their daughter has a mere 3 months left to live. Appearing lively as ever, Morgan plays basketball with Bailey. Dennis worries she shouldn't be exhausting herself, wanting to stop them, but her mother Janet insists he let them be. Morgan just wants to spend some time with her brother. Just then the kids come in, taking a quick break from their game, but Janet quickly leaves, getting emotional after watching her daughter brimming with life. Dennis gets up to go comfort his wife when he's interrupted by a knock on the door. He answers it to find what his very conservative upbringing would consider a disturbing sight, Jordan. Jordan asks for Morgan, claiming he's shown up to return her wallet, and is immediately interrogated by Morgan's father. Unable to take her family's genetic predisposition to asking questions, he hands over the wallet and attempts to leave when Bailey comes to the door and spots him, immediately childishly remarking about Jordan looking like he's petitioning for gay rights. Dennis clarifies, showing Bailey Morgan's wallet, and Bailey, almost as if understanding something Dennis doesn't, calls Morgan down to see Jordan, while simultaneously getting their father to give the couple some alone time. Morgan thanks Jordan for unstealing her wallet, allowing him up to her room to see where the dragonfly sleeps. While inspecting her room, he spots a leather jacket hanging on the door and jokingly asks if she's a flasher. Morgan explains it's a detective coat, her dad was a detective, and it suddenly clicks to Jordan where she gets her inquisitive nature from. Seeing Jordan make himself remarkably comfortable on her bed, she attempts to kick him out, but he refuses to leave till he finds out something about her he doesn't like. She orders Jordan to shut his eyes, preparing to show him something she's sure will turn him off, her Inspector Clouseau cosplay. Jordan is unfortunately underwhelmed, because he's never seen or read The Pink Panther. His lack of knowledge gives Morgan the idea to show him the entire movie interactively, challenging Jordan to hide a key anywhere in her bedroom, which she will find in less than 3 minutes. Jordan ups the stakes, turning the game into a bet. He bets that if she doesn't find the key, she has to spend an entire night with him, and Morgan agrees, but if she wins, Jordan must leave her house immediately and never return. Jordan blindfolds her with a poor choice of scarf and whispers in her ear, distracting her as he slips the key into her pocket, then runs around the room, shifting objects to make noises that make her think he's hiding the key somewhere else. When he's ready, Morgan does a comedic Inspector Clouseau impersonation while fumbling around in the areas Jordan pretended to hide the key in. Jordan asks if she wants a hint, but Morgan claims she's ahead of him. Feeling confident, he raises the bet to include Morgan feeding him as well as spending the night, and Morgan accepts the raise, adding that Jordan must cook dinner for her entire family before he leaves. As they shake on the updated terms, Morgan whips the key out of her pocket, to Jordan's bewilderment. She explains she knew what to expect from the last time he stole her wallet. He employed the same tactics. Jordan apologizes again for attempting to rob her, admitting he's received karmic punishment from nature for it. As Morgan's family sits waiting for Jordan to arrive with dinner, Janet curiously asks about Morgan's friend, and Bailey immediately jumps in with the immature gender jokes. Morgan defends Jordan's identity to her family, explaining he simply likes to express himself, and she admires his bravery. Conservative Dennis cannot fathom, though, how a man wearing a skirt makes him brave. Jordan enters jovially with the pizza he's brought for dinner, but his smile almost immediately drops as he senses the energy in the room. Dennis is already unimpressed with him, bringing pizza instead of cooking dinner from scratch. Janet can't help but stare as Jordan takes his seat, which her daughter reminds her is impolite. Dennis shakes Jordan's hand far too firmly, observing his painted nails. Janet sweetly introduces herself with a gentle shake, and Bailey gives him a pound, nicknaming him Air Jordan. Dennis tries asking Jordan personal questions which make Jordan obviously uncomfortable. He hates talking about his past. He explains to Janet he's not one much for nesting, which is a nice way of saying he's borderline homeless. To Morgan's complete embarrassment, Dennis starts interrogating Jordan on what statement he's trying to make by dressing like that. Jordan believes that the gender roles society assigned to people's self-expression are a load of hogwash. Why should boys only wear pants and girls only wear skirts, when all clothing is basically the same fabric, cut differently? Dennis takes this argument and goes off the rails with it, going to the extreme suggestion that all people who don't conform to societal norms sink to. Dennis's questioning begins turning into outright insults, despite the attempts by his family at reeling his aggressive conservatism in. Bailey attempts to lighten the mood, but Morgan, unable to take any more of her family's criticism, leaves the table, storming upstairs to her room while Jordan chases after her. Up in Morgan's room, she and Jordan are already over it, making out on her bed, which quickly escalates to something more. Morgan stops him, not wanting to do the deed in her bed, and fearing Dennis's wrath, Jordan agrees, taking her to his place instead. Immediately, Morgan starts asking questions about the two addicts having sex on a mattress in the living room, but Jordan dodges past all of them. Misty catches the two heading upstairs, and is quite curious as to where Jordan found the church girl from. Trying to be petty, Misty asks Morgan if Jordan's stolen her wallet yet, and Morgan confirms that that's what swept her off her feet. As the couple escape from Misty, who screams about her money, Morgan is finally shown Jordan's little palace, which he boasts has the best view of the city. While she's impressed with the view, she's full of questions about Jordan's life. Where does he use the bathroom? And why does he owe Misty money? He only answers the latter, informing her that he borrowed from her in order to go to art school, but he ended up dropping out. Feeling lightheaded, Morgan opts to head inside where she questions if he ever feels lonely. He confesses that at this very moment, he isn't lonely at all. Post-coitus, Morgan reads Jordan's story about the Dragonfly Boy, which has since received an update. The Dragonfly Boy's begun hatching a plan which involves him flying up to the top of the cabinet and grabbing the jar of honey. Morgan loves the story and, impressed by Jordan's skill, wonders why he ever quit art school. Jordan, rebel that he is, didn't want to play by the system's rules and be forced to create the type of art the university wanted. Morgan wonders if he's supposed to be the Dragonfly Boy in the story, but Jordan teases that actually she is the Dragonfly Boy, and he's the Princess Bee. With a final kiss goodnight, Morgan decides to fly the hive for the night. The next day, Morgan and Dennis have a strained conversation through her bedroom door. He tries to break the news of Houston, but Morgan doesn't want to go, stating that if the doctors can fix her in Texas, they can fix her here at home. Dennis holds back tears as he's reluctant to admit the hopelessness of the situation. Morgan visits Jordan to break the news. At first he's excited to see her, but sobers when she admits she has something she must confess. Morgan gives him the story about how they found a lump in her chest 2 years ago, and the doctors operated to remove all the malignant cells, but a year after, it was found that it had already spread to her brain. It's irreversible. She admits this is why she tried to avoid him, and gave him a wrong number. She also confesses that she's leaving for Houston tomorrow, and isn't sure when she'll be back. Jordan fumbles over himself trying to get her to wait, to explain more, to come back or to stay. None of this feels right, but she can't stand any more heartache, running off in tears. Jordan's whole world is left upside down as he contemplates the fact that he may already be losing the love he just found. Morgan and her family fly to the medical center in Houston, where Dr. Koenig discusses treatment options with Dennis. He suggests another aggressive blast of radiation, but remains honest with Dennis that chances of recovery are low. Koenig admits that the hospital can't do much besides monitor her and ease her pain. He recommends taking her home to be with her family in her final moments. Dennis lets the doctor go through with this last treatment, but decides that if this doesn't work, he's taking his daughter home. Meanwhile, Jordan adds more pages to the Dragonfly Boy's story. He covers himself in honey, making all the other dragonflies above fly away. When left alone, the Dragonfly Boy wanders all day and night covered in honey, till bees from the nearby villages begin swarming him. One by one, the bees begin sticking to the Dragonfly Boy's honeyglue body, making him eventually no longer look like a dragonfly, but like a giant bee himself. Eventually, the Dragonfly Boy gets to the Queen Bee's castle, where he's approached by a royal guard. His story is interrupted when Misty stumbles into his abode, high as a kite. She tries flirting with him, attempting to get him to sleep with her again, but he recoils from her as if disgusted. Attempting to be amicable, Jordan asks how she's been doing, but Misty's bitter about Morgan the church girl. She's not like them. Jordan interrupts her self-righteous rant, clarifying her misconception. Jordan isn't anything like Misty either. This sets Misty off, sarcastically apologizing for insulting his precious little princess. Jordan snaps back, stating they love each other. Misty tears up, that confession obviously shattering her heart. She's vulnerable for a moment, before ripping apart Jordan's drawings in a rage, and threatening to throw him out if he doesn't return her money. Back in Texas, Morgan vehemently begs her mother not to let her spend her final days in a hospital. Her mother tries to placate her, but Bailey supports Morgan's decision. Dennis enters the room after conversing with the doctor, trying to pull Janet outside, but Morgan insists she hear what they have to say. The conversation is about her life, after all. With just a shake of his head, Dennis communicates so much to his daughter, and Morgan immediately demands to be taken home. She even instigates Bailey, who flies up from his seat, ready to take his sister home with physical force if necessary. Returning to the apartment, Jordan's forced to bang on the door till Juno lets him in. Pissed, Jordan wonders why his key didn't work, and Juno explains that Misty changed the locks to keep Jordan out. Snatching the page from Juno, he bounds the stairs to find his home ransacked. In his story, the Dragonfly Boy approaches the Queen Bee, claiming to be a prince of a hive deep in the northern mountains, so deep, she's probably never heard of it. The Queen Bee asks if his hive is full of honey, and the Dragonfly Boy lies, claiming it's got the most honey around. The Queen Bee's eyes glow greedily at the prospect of becoming more rich, and she brings out the Princess Bee, ready to sell her off. The two of them lock eyes, and the Princess Bee thinks he's the strangest bee she's ever seen, but she can tell he's kind. The two share a loving embrace. However, the situation gets sticky when the Princess Bee quite literally gets stuck to him. His trick unraveled, the Queen Bee is outraged. Later that night, Jordan hangs around the apartment, creeping downstairs into Misty and her ally's room. While she sleeps, he steals an envelope of cash by her bedside and grabs some clothes out of the closet to make a break for it. She wakes, lightly mumbling, and Jordan puts her back to sleep, injecting her with another small dose of whatever she was shooting up with. Morgan arrives home with her family, and the first thing she does is check the damage. She grimaces at the state of her quickly deteriorating body. Her hands shake as she removes the bandage from the back of her newly shaved head, crying at the loss of her youthful beauty. Jordan compliments her butt from behind her, scaring the crap out of her. Janet, hearing her yelp, comes upstairs to check on her, but Morgan sends her away, or so she thinks. Janet stays, eavesdropping. The two argue about continuing their relationship. She truly likes him, and she doesn't want him to see her like this, though Jordan compliments her new look, finding it anarchist and sexy. For every self-deprecating thing she says about herself and her inevitable passing, Jordan answers her with a witty retort, insistent that he won't let her drown herself in misery. Morgan believes she can't escape her fate, but Jordan thinks that even if they can't escape, they can always run, make fate chase them down and work for it. Morgan can't take it anymore, begging him to leave, even going so far as to say cruel things, and threaten to scream when he insists he won't. Jordan's visibly hurt, but he leaves, maintaining that she isn't gone yet. Till then, he'll wait for her. Morgan's visibly depressed while her family goes through unimaginable turmoil, seemingly unable to comfort her. Jordan, in the meantime, is heading nowhere fast. One night, Misty finds him skimming the contents of a purse he just lifted at the back of the club in Six Gutcho, the Spanish she's been rolling around with, on him. Gutcho gets his lackey to beat Jordan up and drag him back when he tries crawling away. The more intense than Misty had originally intended, but it's too late. Gutcho pulls out a gun. Tapping it to Jordan's temple, he demands the return of his money. Trying to save his life, Jordan lies about only having part of it, which garners another sound round of beating from El Musculo. Misty tries begging for them to stop. She didn't truly want Jordan to get hurt. She just wanted to scare him a little, but Gutcho has other plans. He threatens to end Jordan if he doesn't get his money within 2 days. Eventually, the club's bouncer comes outside and interrupts the commotion. He gets Gutcho and his muscle to leave Jordan alive. But thanks to Gutcho ratting about Jordan stealing purses, he's also banned from the club. Later that night, Jordan sneaks back into Morgan's room to collect the envelopes he stashed under her bed. Morgan, wide awake, was wondering when he'd come back for them. Spotting his black eye, she asks what happened, and Jordan sarcastically jokes that someone broke his heart, and it spread to his face. Morgan confesses she missed him, and Jordan leads her to her bathroom, having an idea. He asks Morgan to shave his hair off, wanting to truly be with her, look like her, live with her. Morgan's hesitant, thinking it may be a stupid idea, but Jordan's happy to be stupid, as long as it's together. Lighting candles, she sits Jordan in the tub as she gingerly shaves his hair off. The next morning, Bailey busts into Morgan's room with her Super 8 camera, catching her and Jordan in bed. Morgan tries to get her brother to pipe down, for fear her parents will hear them, but Bailey cheekily informs her that her parents are the ones who sent him to wake them, with Janet even asking if her guest will be staying for breakfast. Jordan smiles cockily. Throwing an arm around Morgan, he tells Bailey to let the Gandar parents know that he's absolutely famished. After Bailey leaves, Jordan admits to Morgan he needs to leave town for a bit, trying to enlist her to come with him. He knows her brain is sick, and while that absolutely sucks, he's adamant that she can still fill her days with joy. They have time and money, Jordan wants to spend them together. Morgan admits that when she was younger, all she'd ever imagined was getting married in a beautiful vintage dress with her hair pinned up, her family crying joyfully beside her. But now her hair's gone and her family will cry for a different reason. With zero hesitation, Jordan takes a knee at her bedside, asking Morgan to marry him. Breakfast is awkward, with Dennis intensely antagonizing Jordan about his black eye, but Morgan quickly derails the conversation further by spitting out that they're getting married. Both her parents freeze in shock, and Jordan, fearing Dennis' wrath, quickly explains that under normal circumstances, he'd have preferred to do things the old-fashioned way, asking them both for their permission, but they're running against the clock. Morgan wants to get married at their house, tomorrow. After conferring with her daughter, Janet begins helping the couple make plans, intending to call her sister, Lisa, who's ordained. Bailey thinks it's a wonderful idea, excited to have two sisters. Dennis gets up with a start, and they all think he's going to argue, but instead he extends a handshake of congratulations to Jordan. Jordan thanks him and begins to ask to borrow a suit, unless they have two vintage wedding dresses lying around. The family bonds while preparing for Morgan's wedding. Janet brings out her old wedding dress while the boys make decorations. At the wedding, both the bride and groom wear dresses and veils, white and black respectively. Morgan is walked down the aisle by her father, and her Aunt Lisa marries the pair in a beautiful, non-denominational wedding service. After the service, the pair are seen off by her family and wished well on their honeymoon. For their honeymoon, Morgan and Jordan live it up in a hotel room, indulging themselves in all the hedonistic pleasures. Jordan wakes the next morning to an empty bed and finds Morgan sick in the bathroom. Morgan worries she's ruining their honeymoon by being a critically conditioned wife, but Jordan assures her that most brides end up groping the toilet the morning after, for one reason or another. The couple continue their road trip to the next location, the beach. They spend the day playing in the sun and sand. Morgan's face is lit with a smile the entire time. As the sun sets, they snuggle round a fire while Jordan reads Morgan the rest of the story. The outraged queen bee orders her royal guards to strip all the bees off the dragonfly boy. Insulted by his insolent attempt at deceit, the queen orders her guards to seize him. The princess bee, however, is enamored with the dragonfly boy, finding his wings and eyes unexpectedly beautiful. The queen bee isn't impressed, crooning that a bee should be with a bee. The princess whispers to the dragonfly boy, wondering if dragonflies are fast, and the dragonfly boy admits they are much faster than bees. The princess bee hops into his arms, asking him to fly away together, and just like that he spreads his wings, flying faster and faster until the couple escape the queen bee's castle. Morgan eagerly asks what happens next in the story, but Jordan believes that's up to them. Solemnly, Morgan wishes she could remain his dragonfly boy forever, but Jordan says, to hell with time, it's not real anyway. She's his realistic fantasy, and he's her fantastic reality. Time can shove it for all they care, they have each other. Jordan wakes the next morning to find Morgan staring intently at the sea. She wants to do something she's never done before today. Preferably something bad, she's always good. She asks Jordan for an opinion on what's bad but not cruel, and he's already got an idea. They're going to rob a convenience store. Arming her with a paper bag for a gun, and insisting she follow his lead, the two enter and stick up the cashier, demanding all the money in the register. Jordan intimidates him with a thick, fake Mexican gangster accent, while Morgan stumbles terribly at sounding tough. Noting he's hit the silent alarm, Jordan gets them to bail out quickly, but not before he pops his head back in, tossing the cashier $100 out of the robbed money, and thanking him, much to his confusion. The two lay low in the car, riding the high off their little charade when Morgan asks, "What's next?" Trying to keep up with her, Jordan takes her to go get a tattoo, which she takes well, to his surprise. She admits it hurts, but she's learned to enjoy pain now. The two leave the studio holding hands, sporting matching tattoos of the princess bee and the dragonfly boy. The next thing Morgan wants to do is drive, and as they get her ready in the driver's seat, Jordan is a little concerned. Morgan tries to think about what she needs to start a car, becoming increasingly frustrated as she can't seem to remember. As her frustration builds, she suddenly has a seizure, and Jordan rushes to the other side of the car. While watching horror movies for the first time ever, Morgan tells Jordan she knows what she wants to do tomorrow. She wants to visit his mother. Despite how crap he feels about it, Jordan returns to his home that he hasn't seen in 15 years, knocking on his mother's trailer door. Alice gives Jordan a big hug, stepping back to look at him, but he's clearly not as ecstatic about the meeting, unsure of how to feel about his mother, who's still an addict. Alice rambles on about him looking like his father, shows off his childhood drawings, and brags about her son's artistic inclinations, but every word she says makes Jordan increasingly uncomfortable. She offers the couple food, grabbing a cold portion of chicken out of the fridge and handing it to them. Sitting in the backyard, Alice continues her speech, claiming she's so glad her Jordy is actually doing something with himself now, and that he's actually married to a woman. Embarrassingly, she reveals she was concerned about her son's sexuality. While other boys played sports and romped around, Jordan stayed inside drawing and dressing in her clothes. She even recalls he got kicked out of school after being found fooling around with another boy. After the neighborhood boys beat him because of it, she kicked her son out, and she's proud of her stellar parenting in doing so, because apparently, it's turned Jordy into a real man. Rolling his eyes, Jordan argues that he still plays with dolls and wears women's clothing. But Morgan stops him. She just wanted to see where the Princess Bee came from, and now she understands who the real Queen Bee is. Jordan hands his mother a wad of cash, and she resolves to give him a little something as a wedding gift as well, thoughtlessly picking up the first thing she laid her eyes on in the trailer, a letter opener. As they go to leave, Alice grabs her boy's face and intensely confesses she loves him. Life may have gotten stuck on her, but he escaped it. Her boy was born with wings. The couple hit a bar that night, and Jordan is still visibly depressed about the visit to his mom's place. Trying to keep his focus on the present moment with her, Morgan reminds him that today is all that matters. Trying to drive her point home, Morgan switches the song on the jukebox to the Grassroots Live for Today. As the song starts, she dances round the bar, seducing all the patrons as if she's the sexiest vixen in the place, getting them all to sing along, while Jordan can't take his eyes off her. When she finally comes back around to him, Jordan pushes her down on the pool table, kissing her with fervent intensity in front of the entire bar. Towards the end of their digital love letter, we're shown a scene where the couple's misguided kidnapping of a doctor to perform a open heart surgery is foiled when Morgan experiences a terrible seizure, and Jordan is forced to untie the doctor for his help. The doc refuses to go through with their crazy plan of swap and takes the first chance he gets to call hotel security, but is also forced to shank Jordan in the process. An ambulance is called for them both. Jordan is stitched up at the hospital and wakes to Bailey sitting next to his bed, sobbing. Bailey lets him know Morgan is here and still alive, but unresponsive. Despite his own injuries, Jordan forces himself up, going to Morgan's side in a panic. He's tranquilized by the nurses and dreams of an arrow hitting his dragonfly boy, knocking him out of the sky. The Princess Bee flies down and grabs his hand, lifting and carrying him away. Jordan wakes to Dennis by his bedside this time, his face looking oddly at peace. Jordan assures him his daughter is happy, and that she recorded it all on video for her family. Jordan begs Dennis to help grant Morgan's final wish, not to let her perish in a hospital. Janet and Bailey agree, knowing it's what she would want. Jordan wheels Morgan out of the hospital, heading for a nearby park. Kneeling at her feet, he desperately asks Morgan what she wants to do as her finale. Unable to speak, Morgan stares intently at a bee that's landed on his chest. Realizing that she wants to hear the end of the story, Jordan lifts her out of the chair and narrates to her. The Princess Bee asks the dragonfly boy where they're going, and he tells her they can go anywhere they want, so they do. They fly anywhere and everywhere together, fields, valleys, forests, deserts, but eventually, the stories make it back to the Queen Bee, who continues to hunt them down. The dragonfly boy wonders where they could possibly hide, and the Princess Bee suggests they get married. They get married in the backyard of a beautiful home, but the dragonfly boy worries the queen would still keep searching and eventually find them. The Princess Bee cleverly reminds him that after the wedding comes the honeymoon, so the queen could search everywhere on Earth, but she'd never find them. Together, the dragonfly boy and the Princess Bee begin to fly high in the sky towards the honeymoon, and they fly right out of this world. By the end of the story, Morgan breathes her last, and Jordan holds her tightly as her family joins them in saying goodbye. Bailey captures their last moments together with Morgan's camera as a dragonfly and a bee fly across the frame.